So we have a bit of an update on a story that was covered this morning on Newswave, and wouldn't you know it, this essentially broke about 30 minutes after Newswave went up. And to be fair, I did mostly cover a lot of the speculation and just gave some ideas as to what exactly was being teased here from Nintendo. But now we have a game leaking out in a very unusual way, actually, for Nintendo, and we're going to go over that here today, and apparently a game that we can expect to be announced at any time now. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure that like button and subscribe if you're new. So let's head over here. This is the tweet in question from Piaro, who, as we talked about earlier today, seemed to just grab the first image off of Google image search for Nintendo World Championships 1990. And this led to a lot of speculation around Switch 2 or next-gen stuff from Nintendo, and some kind of brought up the idea of, hey, maybe this could be something that has to do with the World Championships, an in-person tournament, maybe an online tournament that Nintendo puts together. But because there are, yes, Switches here and numbers all over the place, I mean, even SW1 through 4, people started to really dive deep into what was pretty much staring at everyone in the face the whole way. In fact, Piaro was very straightforward, actually, with what they were teasing, because as people were going back and forth about what exactly this could mean, we had an ESRB rating that was spotted, and that's for Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. So this is a bit of an interesting situation for Nintendo, mostly because we don't really see games leak out through the ESRB very often for Nintendo, specifically like a game that hasn't been announced yet to just show up as an ESRB rating from Nintendo. We'll see it from third parties. That does happen quite frequently, like more than you would expect for how secretive the gaming industry is. You figure they'd be pretty good at lining up sort of the timing around this, but hey, it's just sometimes things get through the cracks, and here you go, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. Now, technically, that would fit in perfectly because, as Piaro showed here, that is an NES cartridge. That's what Nintendo World Championships 1990 was based around, NES games that were altered and changed up for a tournament setting. And it's well known for, yes, its rarity of the cartridge itself, but also technically the breakdown of going from game to game to game and what you have to do in each one to try to get the highest score and win, all that sort of thing. So when I had talked about the idea, yes, of there being something with Nintendo World Championships in terms of a game release. And with that in mind, I thought it'd be really cool to have something like this on Nintendo Switch Online. And it'd be sort of fitting into what we had with Mario 35, which was still an awesome thing that Nintendo decided to rip down. But like Tetris 99, those sorts of games where it brings a ton of people together, kind of battle royale style there. But for something like Nintendo World Championships, I think it'd be really cool to have it set up to where a bunch of people could compete. And yeah, sure, leaderboards, that sort of thing, but maybe all even at the same time where it fills up a room, like with Mario 35, like with Tetris 99, and everyone just sort of runs through these challenges, and whoever, I guess, gets the highest score or timed or whatever it is they go with ends up winning at the end. Unfortunately, that does not appear to be the case, and in this instance, they seem to be going with a premium price title. Not like it's going to be $60, as many people are assuming this would be a $30 to $40 game. In fact, I'm sort of looking at this kind of like an everybody 1-2 switch, that sort of thing. I'm not expecting this to show up and be a full $60 title. Now, NES Remix was a game on the Wii U, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was very different and at times a modern take on some of those original Nintendo games that were brought up and, as they say in the title, remixed a bit. So it was a nostalgic setup with a new age flair on it. I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know if that's what they're going to be doing here necessarily. It seems like they will be theming it and altering it maybe to fit more in with a tournament setting for the World Championships. And I think that could at least be a very unique release. But I think it also plays in very nicely to where Nintendo is at this time, which is between generations. I mean, we already know this. The writing's on the wall based on some of the games coming up with really just Paper Mario Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD just kind of coming up. That's sort of it, right? Nothing brand new. And I guess you could look at this as a brand new game, but also it's still based on, well, one, an older cartridge. Yes, rare, but I mean, it's a cartridge that's already been released, but also intellectual property and games that they've already dealt with in the past. So I think this fits in nicely still to that in-between time period, but because it has been rated by the ESRB, it's making many people believe that this could be something that just gets kind of shadow dropped as an announcement. And considering we are coming up on their investors briefing, their report that they'll be putting out next week, it seems like this would be something good to announce ahead of that, just to kind of give more confidence to investors, because there will be some tough questions asked in that Q&A, and I'm curious how ready Nintendo is to talk about some of that stuff. But at least having a new game being announced, have at least something to talk about for just the general public and gamers. And yeah, sure, I get it, Nintendo World Championships, not exactly a brand new 3D Mario game or a new 3D Zelda or something like that for next gen. It's still something to kind of throw out there, and maybe it's a game that comes out in July or something. So they announce it, say, next week, and oh yeah, it's out in 2 months. That is a strategy we've seen Nintendo employ before, even with bigger titles than this, so it wouldn't shock me if next Monday or Tuesday Nintendo shows up on Twitter and is like, hey, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition coming out in 6 or 7 weeks. Also, I want to point out that it does say in-game purchases here, and we've seen that mean many different things: downloadable content, microtransactions, so it's hard to exactly say what this could be in reference to. Just wanted to point that out now before the official announcement. I do think for just what it is, it could actually be a lot of fun, and it continues to play into the idea of Nintendo sort of holding up their Nintendo Switch Online service themselves with first-party games. So I'm hoping that this has good online, decent, acceptable online play. At times, Nintendo does some really good stuff, very creative stuff with their online. Other times, they do some head-scratching stuff. So you go from like a Mario 35 or Tetris 99 that feels genuinely unique and is fun, and then you go into Mario Strikers, where you really can't field an entire team, and it's all set up very weird for online play. So I'm hoping for something like this, it could be really cool to have a bunch of people compete and try to win a tournament you set up for Nintendo World Championships. But let me know what you think about this one down below. I know there was a ton of speculation, and that might also just kind of play into the idea of people just looking around and anticipating, building up a lot of sort of made-up hype at this time, just because Nintendo really hasn't said anything about their next system. But still, clearly, there is a lot of anticipation around Nintendo showing up at some point and at least referencing their next system, to the point where, yes, people really dove into a Nintendo World Championships 1990 cartridge and tried to decipher numbers and switches and all kinds of stuff. But I guess at least for about 24 hours, it was fun for people to do. And I guess next time PRO says something, we should take it, I guess, more at face value than people did for this one. But let me know what you guys think about all of this down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.